What is up, everybody? What is going on? This is another episode of Foul Ball Talk, brought to you by Pigtown Sports and Foul Ball Talk YouTube channels. Matt Trigger, Tim Malarkey. Tim, what is going on? We had a little bit of a technical difficulty for the last
Yeah,
10 minutes or so.
I'd say. I don't know what that was, but we're here.
We are. And this isn't a doom and gloom episode. This is not celebrating the dismissal of Brandon Hyde. We are now about 2 weeks past that, if not a little less. The Orioles seem to be kind of, I guess, righting the ship a little bit. I'm not saying that they're, back to where they need to be, but we're stringing some wins together. We're not losing every ball game. Kids are showing some fight. Ryan O'Hearn is continuing to have a career year. Jackson Holiday is solidifying why he might be the best second baseman, at least in the American League. And um, couple bright spots that have been relatively dim for the most part. So before we get into all that, we're currently sitting at 19 and 36, I believe.
37.
19 and 37. So it's a little dicey, but we're making do. And the 3-game win streak kind of gave me a little bit of hope that Tony Manzolino was starting to kind of implement his ways and put his thumbprint on this team.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely seeing. We're not seeing much change with the lineup, which we all kind of expected. We know that the lineup comes from Elias. In the Tony Manzolino era, we're being a little bit more aggressive on base path. I think there's some. I don't know if you want to call it learning curve, like this comment right here. He's still referring to runs as points. But he's he's very green in the coaching department, I guess you could say.
That he is.
We're still leaving runners on base, you know, in scoring position. There's still a lot of work to be done. I think the most frustrating part for me is that we see light, we see some spark. It looks good. And then the next day it's completely cold again. It's just there's no consistency right now. But there has been a little bit of light as of late. I would like to see some changes in the order and the lineup going against what Mike's computers say. I don't think Adley needs to be anywhere near the top of that order above Gunner, protecting Gunner. We need to find someone
Adley
above.
should be batting 7th
Yeah, most
or
definitely.
8th.
Most
Um,
definitely.
it was really telling in yesterday's game that between Adley and Gunner, they were a combined 0 for 9 or 0 for 10.
0 for 10.
Um, and a handful of strikeouts between them. And that's not what you want when everybody else is producing or trying to produce. And um, it's just funny how everything happened with these guys yesterday, and then today, an SI article drops where ownership approached Gunnar Henderson about an extension in spring training. I just think that they're throwing something out there just to kind of lessen the blow that it is a loss each day. And I don't even want to talk about extensions right now with this team because we're not at that point. But I do want to mention something before we get a little bit into the semantics of on-field play. Tim, I don't know about you, but we are probably, I'm guessing, 4 weeks away from determining whether this is going to be a quick fire sale and a retool, or if we're actually going to ride this out and wait for the likes of Bradish and Wells and Grayson and Colton Cowser and Jordan Westberg to all return, because those are 5 really good baseball players. And if we keep on heading towards this trajectory where we're losing 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10, guys like Mullins and Mountcastle and O'Hearn might not be Orioles come late July. There's been a lot of talk about that recently on the airwaves, um, amongst Birdland. And where do you see that, with this team right now? What are your opinions on that? Do you think it's a 4-week thing? Do you think it might be a 6-week thing? Because we're roughly 9 weeks away from the trade deadline.
Yeah, I mean, I think we probably see the first of all, this team's going to look very different come trade deadline.
Yeah.
Um, there's no question that Kowser's making his way back. Westberg's going to make his way back. Like those guys are given. They're going to be here. They're going to be playing. Um, there's two thoughts that I have about this. Obviously, the rumors came out about the Phillies and Cedric Mullins. We've done business with them in the past. They had their eye on Austin Hayes. We saw that at the last trade deadline, which leads me to believe that if they're scouting our outfield, looking at our outfield, and that's who they agreed upon, they probably also have a really good report on Cedric Mullins. He
Yeah.
would fit in nice there. They need a center fielder there. And I honestly would be happy for Cedric on a personal level. Go play in some playoff games, go play some meaningful baseball. He's been through, the dark ages with us. He was part, it's crazy to think about, but he was on a Buck team. Like that's how long
Right.
Cedric has been on this team. So that wouldn't surprise me at all. I don't think Mountcastle is going to go anywhere. And I don't think that's because the Orioles aren't willing to trade him. I don't think he has much value. I don't think teams are looking for him right now when they could come after Ryan O'Hearn. Ryan O'Hearn can play first base. He's batting plus 300, like 337 or something right now. He has an OPS just shy of 1,000. Like the dude is absolutely balling. I don't know where this team would be without him right now. And
That that
career
yeah. I'm
career
sorry.
wise, his value is not going to get any higher than it is right now.
It
And
Does that beg the question that you could potentially build around O'Hearn as
I
part of
mean,
the core?
so that was where I was heading with my second thought on this deadline approaching is that it's if you lose Cedric and you lose Ryan O'Hearn, what veteran is left in this clubhouse?
The guys on the pitching staff. And here's the thing about that. If you trade O'Hearn and you trade Mullins, you're essentially phoning the season in. That's a clear indication that you're just going to rock with what you got and go from there. Because obviously, I mean, I agree with Kerry. I think there would be like an unspoken notion to where we say we're going to send you to a playoff team this year to get you in the postseason, and then he could very well re-sign back here again in the offseason. You know, I don't think they're going to trade Rutschman. I really, I, I really don't think they're going to trade Rutschman. It
I don't
just,
think so either.
I think they love him, and I think a lot of this city loves him.
I think it's really telling that we've needed a catcher and we have Trump and Maverick Hanley up here while Basayo is still cooking down there in Norfolk. They haven't even sniffed at that. And I get it. He's young. I understand what they're doing, but that,
It's time. It's service time manipulation.
yeah, and it should be telling to you what their future plans are,
Yeah,
you know?
I, I don't think Rutschman is going anywhere. Um,
Yeah, this
we've
is
we've we've heard we've heard Felix. Um,
this is what I was going to tie into that Cedric real quick before we get off of it is just
yeah,
I think Cedric alone isn't going to fetch you much, but a Cedric Mullins and a Felix Batista, I mean, they need a closer too. They have the closer that's suspended, and then when he comes back, he won't be able to pitch in the playoffs anyway.
right.
So Cedric and a closer, i.e., Felix, could
I
fetch
heard
you a nice yield.
I heard Yenir's name mentioned as that.
Yeah,
Uh,
I would like the guy that the Norfolk Tides went up against today, Painter. I mean, I know a Painter's going to be expensive, but I feel like with Cedric Mullins and Felix Batista,
I would take it. I'll take Mick Abel before Painter. That personal preference, but I think Mick is a surefire one or two eventually.
I think Painter has that ace stuff. The dude's 6'7". He like presents himself like he's a top of the rotation guy. And the reason I think it's smart is because if you did that now, you come up here, you bring him up, he immediately has a role in this pitching staff with what we're trotting out there now.
Yeah,
You get his feet wet for the second half of the season, and then he's ready to rock when you have Bradish back, Grayson back, you know.
I don't see Painter being on the table unless Batista's on the table.
Yeah, I
I don't
definitely
think.
think Painter's far-fetched. That's definitely a pipe dream. Don't get me wrong there.
Yeah, but I think Mick Abel's more the speed. I think you can get Mick Abel if you trade Cano and Mullins. I think that would be ideal. Um, it's it's gonna be like you said. It's gonna definitely be different. I like that under Manzolino, they've made 2 moves for the roster so far that were long overdue. Gibson DFA, CNL Perez DFA. I don't care where they land. I don't care where they go. I know Gibson went to the Rays, but it would be, you know, it would be nice if they made more moves. But it seems like Charlie Morton is starting to come around, so to speak. It's it's incredible because I've been on the anti Charlie Morton boat all year long, and the dude just threw a masterful 6 innings.
and we've talked about it, and I told you, I said it's looking at, me being a numbers guy and looking at what he had, like, it baffled me how bad he was doing based on the product he was putting out there. Like, there was a disconnect where it
Yeah,
literally didn't make sense. It didn't make sense, and I don't know what it was and what it is. I'm gonna knock on wood. I mean, obviously you and I both know, we're being real here. Charlie is not the answer, but the stuff that we're seeing from him right now, currently over the last 4 games, is more on par for what I think they thought they were getting in the trade, or I mean, in the pickup. But don't think 4 games is enough sample size because we know what happened in those prior games. So
we do. Um, but if Morton fixes mechanics and he adjusted on the fly, and this is now what we're gonna get from Morton the rest of the year, save for a couple of times you get shelled. You just gotta expect it. But if we get more of that and less of the first month Charlie Morton, that's a good arm to have around, especially if he doesn't mind bouncing between the bullpen and the starting rotation. He took that right on the chin, and he went out there and he threw a hell of a game. And shout out to Trevor Rogers too. Dude went out there and
eat my
du-
words on that one.
yeah, we all are, because if you can get a fraction of that from him every outing, I think we're all right. You have him as your long guy or your spot starter, and you go from there because Gibson's gone. Eflin's getting absolutely torched right now. Um,
So that's the problem with talking trades right now, is it frustrates me because we obviously know where this team is positioned for this year. Like, we know that's the thing. The problem is the rest of the league. There's a lot of teams that are nowhere near knowing if they're going to buy or sell yet. And on top of that, you throw in that we are still on a ship sailing the blue ocean, captained by Mike Elias.
yeah.
And that concerns me because is he really going to be competitive with his offers? Who knows? Is he looking to retool? So, I mean, if you're looking to retool, then there's probably some names that you're not going to make available that a lot of us are thinking would be the top trade candidates to go fetch something.
The biggest worry I have is that it's been brought up on the radio. It was brought up the last show. If Elias is operating under the assumption that he's 1 foot out the door, is he really going to retool a team that he's not going to be a part of? That I mean, that's gamesmanship at the end of the day.
That's why I think he's here to stay, Matt. Unfortunately.
I hope that this is just an anomaly of a year in the midst of something greater, because it's been very disappointing. I've been very negative about a lot of it, but I like the direction of Manzolino that he's taking this team, and he's not going to be the manager here next year. He might not be with the organization next year. I highly doubt he's going to go from interim manager back to being our third base coach. I keep on seeing Skip Schumacher's name brought out there. I keep on seeing Buck Britton, but if I had to bet, if I had to place a bet on any of them, it's Ryan Flaherty. They're going to bring Flaherty home, and they're going to go from there, and they're going to let him build because they're going to give Flaherty the opportunity. And they compared the move on one of the shows. I can't remember which one it was, but it was similar to the Dave Roberts hire in Los Angeles.
See, I would like it. I just don't think it's going to happen with Mike at the helm. I think he needs somebody that's going to fall in line, and I don't think Ryan's that guy. Speaking of coaching moves, we do have some breaking news to discuss. It was put out today by Ken Rosenthal. It's in the New York Times, per sources, like pretty official, that the Orioles are in talks with John Mabry coming in to join the coaching staff. So they said in the article, we have two vacancies, right? Because we fired two and we promoted from within. We didn't bring anybody in yet. So apparently the Orioles are speaking to him about filling a hole on the coaching staff. They haven't really touched on what his title would be. And then they openly, the source said openly that they don't intend to fill the second vacancy, which fine, cool, whatever. But Mabry interests me a little bit because our pitching coach is a 2-year coach. Our hitting coach is a 1-year coach. Our manager is a 1-month manager. This staff, I mean, even down to our trainer is our first-year trainer. Like, this staff is so young, and Mabry's been around for a while. He was, he was a 6th-round draft picked. He has been on some teams. He's been fired with some managers when they cleaned house in Miami. They cleaned house and fired the entire coaching staff. He was part of that. I believe he got fired in Kansas City. But the thing that he is at heart a hitting coach. That's how he got his career. That's how he entered the coaching world, was as a hitting coach. He was notorious for being one of the guys who would bat without batting gloves. He hit for the cycle. He, had a 7 RBI game. Like, he led the Cardinals in 1996. He had 161 hits that year. Like, he knows his way around a baseball bat.
The
And
dude's a hitter.
yeah, he's
he
a
was a
hitter.
he was a hitter in the bigs, and I think that he has a lot to give to this young team.
Fun fact too, he was actually hired as the assistant hitting coach under Mark McGwire.
Which is insane.
Yeah, but so he's picked Mark's brain and philosophy.
And I don't care what anybody says, steroids or not, McGwire was a hitter. The dude just ended up hitting 60 home runs in a season, or 63 home runs or whatever it was. But you take away that. I mean, early on in his career, him and Canseco both could hit the ball no matter what, and that's a great brain to pick because McGwire is a baseball guy. I I have no problem with anybody from the steroid era. That can be a whole separate show in itself. Um, yeah,
Yep, and like the Twins just said back to back, this is what I was alluding to with the whole Mabry thing and him being
David Ortiz is a cheater, by the way.
and him, reportedly going to fill the vacancy. We'll see what happens. I mean,
I wouldn't mind Skip Schumacher.
so
I wouldn't.
Mabry is a Schumacher boy.
I mean,
So
I'm okay with that. I mean, I wouldn't mind Skip, but I would prefer Flaherty if I had my choice.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's the part that I come back to with that is it's not that I wouldn't like it. It's not that I think he would do well for this team, being able to connect with the younger side of it while still having a little bit of fire in him and coming from his dad's a coach and he's just a great baseball mind. There's nothing about it that I wouldn't like. I just don't think that he is part of the Elias scope. And that's the only reservation I have with Shoemaker too, and that's why Mabry is interesting that we're hearing this, because I don't think he's going to be a yes man for Elias. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're saying we're giving you a shot if you're a yes man. Or, you know, we've already learned that ownership is kind of what forced Mike Elias's hand with Brandon Hyde.
Yeah.
What if, we're so down in the dumps about Mike Elias that he really has been put on notice, and that this is a big thing that, it could be tied in behind the scenes with ownership saying, we're bringing in this guy. He's going to add checks and balances to what Mike Elias is putting out there as product. And if you don't do the job, then we'll replace you, and we're bringing in Mabry and possibly Shoemaker. Like that could be a real thing. We don't know.
Yeah.
We just don't know. And right here, I saw this rumored too, that it was a suggestion from good old Matt Holliday. So
I believe they were teammates at one point.
it's going to be interesting. We also learned that Mr. Emmanuel Rivera has played on 2 teams under Mabry, or with Mabry, I guess, not under if he's not the manager, but you know what I mean. So exciting news. Like, it's interesting that they made it a point to say that the Orioles will not be pursuing anyone to fill the second vacancy. I mean, if you have a spot and you're allowed to have a coach, why wouldn't you fill it? I don't know.
I guess it seems like they're just taking the less is more approach. I do want to comment on what O's fan for life just said. They are regressing, those 3 in particular. Adley's regression needs to be studied, because I don't want to be the "I told you so" guy. But if you can refer back to our shows earlier in in spring training, where Adley was ripped, Adley was focused, he's hitting the cover off the ball. He comes in, he's healthy, he looks good the first couple weeks of the season. And here we are talking about the same thing that we've been talking about, it seems like, for the last 3 years at this point. When are they gonna have that tough conversation that Adley Rutschman might not be what we thought he is?
How
And
much of it is a regression caused by the hitting coaches?
now, if we get rid of these hitting coaches and we let Mabry do his thing and they turn it around, then you can you can, you can attest to that. But I want to bring up something that we talked about in the group chat. I also think that in the off season, because I think it's something that you can't really do over the course of the All-Star break, you need to have a conversation with Adley and pretty much tell him to give up hitting left-handed. The splits are terrible. Just be a right-handed hitter, man. Just be a right.
There's an Oriole that got that talk, right?
Mullins.
Yep.
Mullins was a terrible switch hitter. He could not hit from the right side at all. It was painful to watch from
This is
those
what's
that
big for
saw it.
me, and this is what you're touching on right now. This is what it is for me.
Yeah. And Kim is right. It's all relevant because everybody's gotten markedly worse, with the exception of O'Hearn and Jackson. They're the only 2 that are improving. And it's rough. It's rough to watch this, because
It is. This leads me into a question I was ready to impose on you. Where are we at on Heston Kjerstad, man? Are we chalking this up as what we just talked about? Coaching has caused these players
I'm
to not
afraid
develop and regress.
I'm afraid this is another Stowers situation. I'm really afraid that this is one of those situations where if you're not going to play Heston every single day and keep him in the lineup or work with him on making adjustments, Stowers is having an all-star caliber year in Miami. And for
To be
those
fair,
that
I don't think anyone could have guessed that, though.
nobody could have guessed it, but in all fairness, if he was still a Baltimore Oriole, he'd probably be on the shuttle team between Norfolk and here based on how they treated him the last couple of years that he was here. So, do you I think that they gotta work with Heston at least another year before you contemplate moving him or doing anything with him.
His
He's too high of a draft pick to just accept it is what it is.
it's it's wild because at the St. Louis series, in 2 separate games, I had fans around me literally say out loud, "He's going to hit into a double play or here comes a ground out. With runners in scoring position, need to come up with a big hit." And these are like casual, you can tell they're with their kids type fans. They're seeing it. We're all seeing it, but
We are.
like if your general public is something is not right. I read someone today saying that they ran all the numbers since he got hit in the head, and I don't think that's fair because he didn't have there anywhere near the amount of plate appearances to make a fair judgment prior to that because they were playing the game with him. He was up and down, down most of the time, up when we needed him. But um, I don't know. He's not. A lot of people don't realize he's not young. He's not. He's not as young. I mean, he's what 20. Oh, it's
I
Chris
think
just put in the chat. Yeah, he's 26,
26
which is old for
for the
where
for the
he
hitters.
is
Yeah,
for where
for the,
he is in his career.
yeah.
Um,
I agree with what Zach said. Um, if you look at his right-handed hitting, he's getting better, but it's offset by the atrocious left-handed hitting.
oh, you're talking
He,
about Adley.
yeah, I'm talking. Yeah, Adley. Um, I was just reading comments and I kind of skipped a little bit and jumped over, but it's really one of those things where if it's Mabry or if it's the next manager, like just sit him down and show him his stats from the left-handed side the last couple of years, and he had and he showed it in the home run derby. What was that, last year or 2 years ago? When it was
Mhm.
in the Mariner Stadium.
When he switched hands? That
Yeah,
was
when
2
he
years
switched
ago.
over. Yeah, when he started hitting right-handed, that was insane.
Because remember last year was the Gunner letdown.
Yeah, that was insane that Adley has that kind of torque and that kind of power as a right-handed batter. He should be doing that all the time. And we have enough left-handed hitters in this lineup anyway. We can afford to have Adley be a permanent right-handed hitter because other than Urias and Mountcastle and Westberg, you don't have any steady permanent right-hand hitters.
Especially if he were to play first base.
Yeah, I mean, I see. I was thinking about that, and I wanted to ask you that. If you move Adley to first, Basayo's going to be your catcher, and you hold on to O'Hearn, he's going to most likely be your DH or your spot corner outfielder, but he's going to be in the lineup every day. Where does that leave Kobe Mayo?
It's a good
That's
question.
another. I mean, he's young. He's 21, 22 years old. But if you're looking at the makeup of this team, you got to figure out what you're going to do with Heston.
Kobe might not be in the Orioles organization in a couple weeks.
If you're going to trade him, you better be getting something back.
Yeah. When we know
But
we don't know what the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain Michael Elias is thinking.
my worry is that he gets traded, another hitting coach fixes the hitch, and he becomes Mark Trumbo.
He has the potential to be better than Trumbo.
That's what I'm saying. And he's 22 years old at the most.
Yeah.
It, the, and I want to reference something that came up earlier in the comments that I don't know if you posted it or not. It's a little silly to be talking deadline because we don't know what this team's going to look like with Kowser and Westberg back, but you kind of have an idea because
We have to play it like a 700 a 700 average in order to get to even 500.
yeah,
And
I don't think that's going to happen. I don't even think they're going to play 500 ball.
no.
They might be just shy of it, but I think those guys are. I'm curious how this is going to look when the pitchers come back. I want to see what Bradish looks like. I want to see what Wells looks like. I want to see what those guys are working with when they come back.
Um, our next topic, since it was brought up in the chat and I had it on our list to talk about tonight. Where are you? Where's your head? What's your prediction? What do you think is coming relatively soon in the next less than a week, even tomorrow, I think Friday, so we could be up Saturday. When Cowser and Westberg come up, what are your two corresponding roster moves?
Mateo's got to go.
That's one.
I think Mateo gets DFA'd.
So, just to play devil's advocate, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'll tell you what I think is going to happen also.
You can't let Rivera chance hitting waivers.
So, right, that would be between Mateo and Rivera. You're right on that. That's what the decision is going to come down to. And then, is it a Dylan Carlson see you later, or is it a Heston Kjerstad back on the bus?
I think Kjerstad goes back on the bus because you're with how Carlson's playing in spot duty. Somebody's going to swipe him on waivers.
So you're putting your dollar on Kjerstad back down, Mateo DFA.
Yeah.
I would like to think that that's what's going to happen. Do you think here? This is what I think old Mike Elias is going to do. I think it'll be Carlson bye-bye, Rivera bye-bye.
And the thing is, you're weakening your bench.
I think they are too hooked on Mateo. And I think that he, for some reason, is really trying to just press on Heston. I would like to see exactly what you said. And don't get me wrong, I love Jorge Mateo. I think that he just showed the other night, getting on first, stealing a second, stealing a third, that he is that value on the base paths is there.
He's playing for a job somewhere else, though.
Right. And I know, but I just know that they love him. And I know he offers that, great ability, and he can play outfield. He can play damn near every position in the infield.
He is terrible in the outfield. Just because you can play there doesn't mean you're good there.
Oh, I'm not saying that. I'm saying they won't. He is too valuable to them. They are hooked on they are nose deep in the Mateo train. They can't. It's not a thing. Did CNL DFA catch you off guard at all?
No, it's been time. That was out of both DFAs. I was more shocked over Gibson than Perez because they put a lot of eggs in the basket of Gibson relatively early. I mean, they can battle it out all they want. Perez should, if Perez can't pitch in our bullpen, he can't pitch anywhere else in the bullpen other than maybe Chicago or Colorado.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's going to get interesting here because you have Cowser and Westberg coming back. Remember, you have Tyler O'Neill coming back too.
Oh, that experiment needs to end.
They paid too much money for him. They're going to ride that one into the
sunset. I know they are, but at the end of the day, it's a 1-year deal. Those 2 other years are option years. It's time for that to end. He plays atrocious defense. He can't hit the ball. He robbed us for $17 million. Call a spade, Tim.
He did.
I don't want to see O'Neill play another inning as an Oriole. And it's not out of hate. It's just out of the fact that who are you going to DFA for him? Who are you going to send back to the minors for him?
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Give me Heston.
And
Zach brought it up. I mean, Trump is up here right now, but I mean, is that because Hanley's hurt?
No, because remember Sanchez is on with his wrist.
That's another guy that I don't really care if he comes back or not.
And Trump was up here because
of
of
Adley being hurt
Adley's concussion that they wouldn't call a concussion because they were scared of getting in trouble because they let him come back in the game.
because they're yeah.
Sorry, I said it.
Oh no, it's true.
Yeah, I'm with Carrie there. Just back to what we were like, it's same thing. Carlson. He at least has a little bit of fight in him.
Yeah,
He's taking good at bats as of late. Couple
he plays good
jacks.
defense. He plays good defense.
He looks, he looks like he wants to be out there and winning. Tyler O'Neill looks like he wants to collect it.
Just to avoid O'Neill picking up that option, if it is a player option, trade him. I don't care if you get a bag of baseballs. At this point, eat that. If you're going to eat the Gibson money, eat the O'Neill money as well.
O'Neill might be here for not just this year, pal.
He has no place here. He's not an everyday player. He forgot how to hit.
Mm-hmm.
He can't field. He can't hit. I mean, the dude's better off reporting to Owings Mills and trying out for linebacker.
Do you think that he's hurt so much because he's so much muscle? Heard an old wise man saying that more muscle equals more tears, more fat. There ain't nothing to tear.
I can attest to that because I haven't torn anything. Huh. Hey, 36 years of working on this. You know what I'm saying?
Did you get excited today seeing Cowser down there, 3 doubles, Westberg,
Yeah,
driving in Cowser?
it was nice.
Do you feel any kind of rally cry that the reserves are on their way?
Um, it all depends on what Manzolino does with them. I mean, you gotta put them in the lineup the minute they get back. You gotta start getting their feet wet. After missing extended time. And while we're talking about injuries, Zach has said it in the group chat. I've said it in the group chat. I had it on relatively decent authority as well as him from different places. It's a miracle that Grayson Rodriguez is all of a sudden healthy and throwing and all that the minute Buddy Boy is sacked. Is it an odd coincidence or is it just me?
I don't know.
Come on. Grayson Rodriguez, they were radio silent on him. And then all of a sudden, after Hyde is canned,
He's
he's
throwing a
throwing.
baseball.
He's throwing a baseball. He's gonna be pitching off a mound soon.
We
Mid
talked
July.
about it before the Hyde firing.
Yeah, he wasn't gonna play for Hyde again. And I'm not. I might be looking a little bit a little bit too much into it, but if dude didn't like him and he's here, that says a lot because we could have used we could have used Grayson all season so far.
I was talking to a great old baseball mind the other day. He used to be Towson's head coach. And he was saying something a little bit interesting to me. He said, "Do you think when Ryan O'Hearn and Gunnar Henderson are up at the plate and they see the first pitch and it's a changeup for a ball, right? Do you think in their head they're going, all right, 60% chance I'm getting a fastball now?" No, those two guys aren't doing that. Now, if I asked you that same question, but replaced Gunnar Henderson and Ryan O'Hearn with Heston Kjerstad, Adley Rutschman, these young guys that are eating and drinking the Kool-Aid that our hitting coaches are giving them, you think they're up there doing that? What does the tablet say is coming next? What does the tablet say is coming next?
It's almost too ridiculous to answer.
That's why I was excited to hear this Mabry news today. There was like a little bit of light that shined down from the heavens this morning, and I was like, "Wow, okay."
I just want baseball guys to be on this staff.
Exactly.
I just want
Baseball minds.
like I talked about it for the last couple shows. The baseball eye, like s- get your face out of the tablet and look at what's going on. somebody that has a feel for the ebbs and flows of the game, and Mabry has that. Now, if they go and they get Skip, I think he probably has a very good balance between analytics and being a baseball guy. I don't think these guys are going to respect anybody that they know is coming in here that's an Elias yes man. Something's got to change with the culture of this team.
You ain't lying there, pal.
It's it's the whole foundation of the team needs to be rebuilt in terms of attitude. You got the players.
So when you say rebuilt, is it what are you thinking? Are you thinking it's rebuild or do you
No,
think it's a retool?
it's a retool. This is similar to. I'm gonna equate this to football for 1 second. This is the 2018 Ravens season to me for the Orioles. You got a lot of good football players on the team. Your star quarterback gets hurt. You have young Lamar come in. You got to retool on the fly with the playbook and all that. You end up getting to the playoffs, but it was a rough year. You know, San Diego knocks you out first game. I think this is one of those situations where a lot of your guys are hurt. You're replacing them with a lot of guys that probably shouldn't be getting everyday playing time, and now you're retooling on the fly. You fired your manager, your third base coach, who's never been a manager at any significant baseball level, is taking over. The guy's calling runs, points. He is not good with the. He's not good with the media, and they are killing him on the fan for that. Which I think is which I think is unfair because the guy was the guy was touching his nose, chest, and doing the sign of the cross and touching his ear 3 weeks ago. You know what I'm saying? And now he's the skipper. So
Yep. And something else I noticed too, and I'm sure people would assume this, but I was there the last 2 nights and nobody was in that stadium. So I was sitting
you
down
took
on
your dog. You were gonna take your dog in the rain. I'm glad you left Adley home.
Yeah, I had to leave her home. It wasn't fair to make a dog sit through. The people did it, but no judgment there. But I'm not making my dog
Oh,
sit through.
there's judgment. There's judgment there.
Not making a dog sit through 3
It
hours of rain.
freezing. I drove home in that yesterday. It was freezing and raining, and the game started what, an hour after it was supposed to, almost an hour and a half after it was supposed to, and you brought your poor animals out there. It was crazy to me.
Yep, I was a little upset. We finally won the lottery system, so to speak, for the Bark at the Park tickets, and had to leave Adley at home. But nonetheless, at both games, nobody's there, so of course we're moved down. We're sitting down right. I was sitting right behind Buck Britton all night, and what was wild to me was the lack of noise and commotion from the Orioles dugout versus the Cardinals dugout.
The Cardinals are also a lot better baseball team right now.
Right, but
Spirits,
the
spirits. You
difference,
have 31 wins right now in the middle of May.
yeah, the difference was absolutely crazy. I mean, it was not just players calling stuff out, yelling positions from the dugout onto the field, yelling what they see, getting excited. You could hear multiple coaches' voices screaming out onto the field. The Orioles, even when they had the lead, it was
There's
dead quiet.
they're
There
still they're still reeling, man. I'm gonna backtrack it to our last show for a second. These guys are all still figuring out how to fail and bounce back. Their manager got fired. A lot of them like the guy, and they've never played collectively this poor baseball probably at any level of their life, where they're losing 2 out of 3 games every time they step into a series.
Mhm.
So things are going to be a little off. I'm not expecting high energy. Their managers figuring it out with them. I don't want to sound insensitive when I say this, but it's kind of like a teenager being a parent.
He's figuring it out,
You're figuring out how to grow up when you're trying to raise them too.
and he didn't see it coming either. This wasn't a planned
Yeah,
pregnancy.
yeah. This was a prom night surprise.
He got thrown into that position.
Yeah. So I don't blame the energy. I don't blame the lack of rah-rah, the lack of calling out things. These kids are just trying to go out there and play baseball the best way they can, and a lot of it's fundamental. We know it's a lot of stuff that needs to be changed, and it's obvious because we're watching these teams beat us 2 out of 3 games, 3 out of 4 games. It's yeah. I just read the last comment that came in from Slyster. Like, the only the park was full on May 4th because it was the Gunner, May 4th bobblehead giveaway. I was there. I was there more for that than I was for the actual game. I was happy I carried that bobblehead around everywhere with me. Yeah, yours is behind you. I got mine sitting next to me.
Yep. It's definitely been a wild ride as someone that, lives at Camden Yards during the season. It's very interesting to see. You can gauge a lot from the mood of the ushers and stuff like that, and everyone's let down, and you can feel it as soon as you walk in there.
Yeah, you can, and I'm not gonna like they did what I wanted them to do. They
Oh, we
made
know, Matt. We know.
they they made Hyde the sacrificial lamb, and then they still kept on losing and losing and losing, and it took a week for Manzolino to get his first win. Then you win 3 straight, a couple games after that. Like, I'm trying to have a cautiously optimistic outlook that this could be the start of something better. I wanna see this team fully healthy. But,
Same.
it's been rough, and I'm not making excuses for it because they're all pro baseball players, so that I'm only gonna give them so much grace, but let me see G-Rod and Bradish and Wells on the staff. Let me see Eflin get his shit together, and then go from there. Let's see what Colton and Westberg do. Hopefully, Westy comes back and he's, ignites this lineup. Westy can come back and hit too.
Sure can.
Colton Cowser can come back and hit in the 2 hole. Adley shouldn't get his first at bat until the second or third inning.
Yep.
Like I said with Hyde, with the having to answer for atonement, in atonement purposes, for the product of your team. Adley has to face the consequences for being a shitty hitter right now. You can't hit in the 2 hole. You were 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts in a game where only you and Gunner were the only 2 to not reach base.
They left 9 on combined.
9 base runners, and I think they struck out a combined 5 times or 4
Yeah.
times. I
5.
think yeah,
Over 10 with 5 Ks.
yep, and 9 runners left on base. If they
Mhm.
knock in half of them, we win. If they knock in
Yep.
a third of them, we win.
Yep. It's gonna be interesting. This team's gonna look a little different here in the next 2 weeks for sure, and then it's only gonna get even, crazier, so to speak. Matt, realistically, who do you see on this team? What do you feel in your gut will be moved in, you know, 8 weeks?
I was prepared to answer this question at the beginning of the show, but when I saw the comment where I can't remember who it was, but it was a very good comment saying that thinking about the trade deadline right now is unfair when you don't have these guys back. Um, I want to keep O'Hearn for selfish reasons because he's the linchpin to this whole thing. He's
You already know how I feel about that.
you have a much more personal investment though. Um, the man was your bartender for Christ's sake. Um, at least one of those times. But if I had to guess, Mullins is out of here. O'Hearn's out of here. Sagano's out of here.
That would hurt me.
It would hurt. It would hurt, but he's on a 1-year deal.
What do you think?
I could
So,
see somebody on the West Coast trading for Sagano, whether it's the Padres or the Dodgers.
so let me ask you this. A lot of people stay away from the idea about Felix because he still has control, and him, he's 2 years of control. Him alone is going to be a hefty price to pay. We're going to have to get something good. What if, in order to make that blockbuster trade that we need in order to retool, a team comes along and is serious about sending us some big time talent for Felix because Felix has 2 years of control. He's not a rental. Are
I'm gonna
you
prep.
comfortable with Felix leaving
Yes,
town?
yes. Because at this point in time, why do we need a closer when we're out of it most games? You can ragtag closer for a year and then go find somebody or look in the minors to see what you got. If somebody comes to us and they give us legitimate pitching prospects, I don't want a hitter. We got the hitters. They're not playing very well right now, but we got hitters. If you can give us one or two major league ready arms, I'm okay with it. But if you're not talking about that, look, I get it. He's embodied Baltimore. He's got the Omar whistle, the light show. He was electric before the injury, but I'm not. I know it's a small sample size, but I truly believe that this injury has done some damage to Felix. And I don't. I'm not coming from a place of malice or coming from a place of pessimism, but the dude hasn't even touched 100 miles an hour yet since he's been back.
You know who has? Brian Baker, baby.
Please don't. Please don't. Please don't. Brian Baker's he's got blackmail on somebody in this organization. Um, I do agree with what Kim said. I think Dominguez and Soto are going to go to a playoff team. Uh, they're pretty much mercenary bullpen arms at this point. They're going to go to whoever will give us something. Uh, a mid-level arm or a mid-level minor league bat or something like that, or another shortstop or something that we definitely don't need. But yeah, Dominguez and Soto, they can go. Brian Baker can go.
Don't you
Uh,
wish that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Keegan Aiken can go.
I'm cool with that.
I would be okay if almost everybody in this bullpen was not here by August. I'd be okay with that. I mean, obviously, I don't want Batista going anywhere, and I don't know what I. Please, somebody in the comments is watching, that's listening. I don't see what everybody else sees in Cano. Am I missing something? Am I missing something?
I don't either, and I kind of have bit my lip about it for a while now.
Because when Cano had the chance to be the guy and close all last year, he was shaky, and he it seemed like he only pitched better when he had the mountain coming after him. He was a good 7th or 8th inning bridge guy, but I don't know what, like, I don't even think he's a good setup man, Mark. I personally don't believe it. I think that he's so hot and cold that if a team wanted to give us a halfway decent minor league arm that would be here next year, I would trade Cano. I would trade everybody not named Batista, but if somebody like the Phillies want to give Abel, Mick Abel to us for Batista, sign me up.
You're wild for that one.
I might be, but nothing right here is working right now, Tim.
No, I agree. And
Nothing's working.
since leave it to Kim to drop it in the comments and ruin my setup. Just kidding, Kim. This is why I asked you that question, because we haven't mentioned him. Not a lot of people are talking about it, but I think that this player has a ton of trade value.
Urias.
A ton.
But are you going to trade Urias?
He doesn't have a starting spot.
he's your infield utility guy. That dude can play everywhere on the infield,
He can.
and he's a decent bat.
I agree, and that's why I think he has a ton of value.
If we trade Urias and keep Mateo, there's something fundamentally wrong in the brain of Mike Elias.
Prepare yourself. I'm telling you, that Mike Elias organization has a fascination with
Just
Primo.
like, oh, he runs fast. Oh, the man fast. That's all he is.
It's I just I
I wanna address the O's fan comment because I think he's I think he's a little bit too short-sighted with this. Morton's definitely gonna be gone. Morton might retire after this. You're gonna get Grayson back next year. You're gonna get Bradish back next year. You're gonna get Wells back next year. You're gonna get Povich back next year. Kramer, he's under contract next year, but I don't know if he's gonna be here or not. They're gonna have to go find another starter somewhere else. That's just the reality of it. They're gonna have to go find a starter somewhere else. But a full off season of health from Bradish not recovering from Tommy John, a full year of Wells not recovering from Tommy John, Grayson, hopefully he stays healthy once he comes back. Yeah, next year the pitching rotation looks a lot better to me. A full year where Povich knows he's in the rotation, whether you agree with it or not. But we have 3, possibly 4 decent pitchers that are gonna have a fully healthy year next year,
You know
or at
who
least
else?
a fully healthy start to the year. Let me rephrase, a fully healthy start to the year.
There's another pitcher that we haven't been given an update on that a lot of other teams that are going in the playoffs might want. He's a super utility pitcher, and he did a ton for this team last year.
Suarez.
Right. He can come be a long man in the pen for you.
He can, because he's your insurance if any of these guys aren't ready.
He
I'm
can
seeing
start a game in 5 minutes notice for you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm seeing the comments about Grayson, and they're fair. They are fair. I think the outlier circumstances, he might be more inclined and more ready to go, especially if he had a problem with who was the skipper of this team. But less Grayson and more Bradish and Wells, because when Bradish and Wells were both healthy, we knew what they were. And nobody can deny that. Bradish was Cy Young worthy when he was healthy. Now, I'm not saying we're going to get that Cy Young health Kyle Bradish ever again. And Wells was a bulldog and he was an innings eater when he was healthy. So yes, I trust those two more so than Grayson, because Grayson has yet to play a healthy, complete 30 start season at the major league level. And those comments are fair, Tim. They're really fair. And I love Grayson Rodriguez. I was on the show last year and earlier this year, and I know a lot of people are probably going to think I'm crazy because there's more eyeballs on us than there's ever been before. Grayson's an all-star closer.
You
Grayson
you
is
said
an
that 2 years ago.
Grayson's an all-star closer. If you look at his stats in the first inning of whenever he pitches,
I can't wait to read
the dude is electric.
what's coming for you.
I don't care, because I'm standing on everything I say, and I will eat crow, but Grayson Rodriguez is an all-star closer. He falls apart in what inning, Tim? Most of the time when he pitches? The 4th inning when they hit the second time through the rotation? I mean, through the lineup?
He does have a better first and second than he does third and fourth.
So if somebody has a good first and second inning or has a fantastic first inning, but they fall apart in the 4th, if you're gonna trade Batista, you have an even younger guy that can transition to closer. It happened with Zach Britton. He was a starter, hurt a lot, and then what happens when we move him to closer? Can anybody remind us what happened when we moved Britton from the rotation to the closing role?
All-star.
He was an all-star. And I'm not saying Britton is the exception, but Grayson Rodriguez is an all-star closer right now.
I think this bullpen needs a good side armor. I miss the Darren O'Day days, man.
Yeah, but like to close on my Grayson argument for closer,
I was trying to distract you so you don't get too much heat.
I don't care. I don't care. I do not care. The dude throws 100 miles an hour. If you tell him every night that he steps out there, the game is on the line, and all they need him to do is go out there and throw 15 pitches that are 100 miles an hour or close to it, and let him throw his breaking stuff as a strikeout pitch,
He'll be hurt again.
okay. But at that point, it's not hurting the rotation.
I hear you. You've been on this train.
I've been on this train for 2 years.
Yeah.
I've been on this train for 2 years. I don't care. I know it's a little bit of it. It's going to draw a little bit of heat, but to add to that, Wells could also close because Wells is a bulldog type of pitcher. Or if you do trade Felix when the time is right and he's healthy, Suarez can close. Let him.
Not ideal, but I guess.
Not ideal, but Suarez could close in a pinch if you trade Batista. I'm just saying. I'm
Brian Baker's still on this team. With him hitting 100 miles an hour, they're going to lean on him.
just hang me by my balls from the ceiling, fan, at that point, because it's crazy. It's him. It's like he's not a major league pitcher. I'm tired of this shit. He's not a major league pitcher. Neither is Keegan Aiken.
Matt, why can't the Orioles hit with runners in scoring position?
Take the with runners in scoring position out of your sentence. Why can't they hit?
There's a common factor to this.
The coaches?
Bingo.
Look, Earl,
Organization wide.
is somebody feeding you talking points right now, Mr. Getting text messages during the show?
No. It's my computer.
Oh, okay.
I can mute. Or
Oh,
try
well,
to
you
at
did,
least.
did a fantastic job.
It's lagging. Come on. Okay, there you go.
Now, I do want to address something that Kim said a couple of minutes ago. Grayson's soft. He doesn't have to make up the close games. I'm going to go out on a limb and say maybe Grayson has had a problem with the skipper and didn't want to play for him or didn't want to play, period, or had a problem with philosophy.
Okay, but say that that's the case, like we've heard that it is. Does that not concern you that a player could be like that and act like that?
No, because I was acting like that.
Yeah, but you weren't getting paid millions of dollars.
No, I'm not. Yeah. But
Like, does that not do anything for the character of the person and someone you want on your team? If that's the case.
here's where I disagree with Kim. I understand it's soft behavior, but I don't need Grayson to be an upstanding character of a person. Go out there and be a fucking bulldog and just play baseball. I don't have to like any of these guys that are on this team, but if they win 100 games for me every year, I'm okay. I feel the same way about the Ravens football team. I know for a fact that some of these dudes are absolute dirtbags and douchebags, but they win 12 to 13 games with relative ease every single year, and then they break my heart in January. So I at least know that they're not upstanding citizens, but I can see maybe it's just that I'm looking at it from a pragmatic point of view. Look, don't bring no Ryan Ripken nonsense into this show right now. I love Ryan, but like he has to say the O's are fine. And I love Ryan to death. Like, don't get me wrong. Yes. That's just I'm standing on what I was told. I'm not saying that it's gospel. I'm not saying it's gospel, but yeah, I'm standing on it, and I could be I might be wrong. It might have been bad information, but the person I heard it from, I'm not going to say was a liar. Joe, no. See that's bullshit. What do you now? Thank you, Mark. Thank you. I couldn't articulate that the way that you did.
All right, Matt. Over this next week, we got the battle of the two worst teams in baseball. Well, not the Rockies, but Orioles and White Sox in town this weekend. We going out to California to play the Sacramento A's. What do you give me? Give me two things, either changes, organizational changes, lineup changes, performance stats. Give me two things you want to see from this Orioles team over the next week so that we can come back and have another
What
not
I want to see,
angry down in the dumps podcast, because tonight was better than
I'm
last week.
I'm gonna stop you for a second right there because I think this has been a relatively healthy dialogue
I
of
agree.
a
No, that's
of
what
a
I was
podcast.
saying. Not tonight. Like
I
compared
wasn't
to
because the episode where I spent 45 minutes shitting on Brandon Hyde was a lot more negative than this. The, you know, I believe that a few of my opinions were, or a few of my thoughts were molded differently based on some listeners' comments and seeing things through a different scope of view. Um, as Carrie said, it's productive. I didn't crash out live. Now, see, I'll be honest with you. The last time I crashed out on the show or TikTok, that whole monologue got 30,000 hits. So,
sure did.
but I'm not crashing out tonight. I'm not crashing out tonight because there's progress. I'm seeing slow progress. I'd rather see slow progress than no progress. There's things to look forward to. And I haven't mentioned him enough this episode, and I talked about him in the beginning. I think he's been mentioned in the midst. Jackson Holiday is figuring it out, and I love watching it. Jackson is figuring it out, and the dude is going to be a bona fide all-star. If he's not the all-star second baseman this year, it's a sham.
It's because his father is telling him not to listen to the hitting coaches.
Correct. But then again, there's anarchy all throughout that clubhouse. At times, it probably looked like the household from Ricky Bobby on Talladega Nights. Anarchy. I don't know what it means, but anarchy. Yeah, Jackson's listening to his dad. I hope everybody understands that. Like, he is 100% listening to Matt Holliday and not listening to the bozos that are our hitting coaches right now.
All right, Matt, answer the question. What are two things you want to see from the Orioles over this next week?
DFA Mateo,
Ooh, okay. We're coming in hot right off the plane.
DFA Jorge Mateo, leave him in Sacramento, and I want to see us win these next two series.
Okay.
I want 4-2 from the White Sox and the A's.
All right.
I'm saving for a messy pitching performance from somebody in each of the series, but we should sweep the White Sox. And we should take it. Oakland's having or the A's are having a sneaky decent year.
All
But
right.
but the thing is, all these dudes are successful in the minors, and we're going to play in a minor league stadium. So it should be home run city.
Yep, it's Mariners then A's. So we got a bad team, good team,
Okay,
bad
so
team.
if you're looking at are the Mariners, is that a 3-game set or a 4-game set?
I think they're all three.
I'll take I'll take 5-4 out of that 9-game stretch. I'll take it. I will take 5-4. If the Mariners take 2 out of 3 from us, I'll take that. As long as we don't get swept by the Mariners, I'm cool.
Do you know why we have to do that though? Because do you
Just
know what happens after
just to
the A's?
just maintain our dignity, so we, because we're getting ready to walk into a buzzsaw.
Do you know what happens after the A's?
No.
Derek
I
Skubal and the Detroit Tigers.
Oh, that's fun. That's fun. I like that.
It's gonna be great.
Are they here? Or are we in Detroit?
They're home.
Orioles
They're coming here.
Oh,
Detroit's coming here.
I might have to go watch Scooble pitch.
Oh, definitely. If it matches up, I don't think they have it listed yet.
It's too far out. It's
Yeah.
definitely too far out.
Is
Is it weird that I don't like the Mariners?
No, I like the Mariners because
I don't. No. I like Ken Griffey Jr. I like Edgar Martinez and Jay Buhner. I mean, I was like 7 years old when they were like in their prime. But the Mariners fans on social media are ignorant and delusional at best. Majority of them. I got into an argument with them when they said that if we wanted Luis Castillo, that we would have to trade Jordan Westberg. And I just asked them how much PCP they were smoking out in the Pacific Northwest. That's all I asked them. I thought that was a fair question.
You think some funny things sometimes, as chat would say.
I wish we could just put our chat messages on this as a rolling screen on this for 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Shit would be wild.
All right, my 2 things over the next 2 weeks. I just want to hear what you think about my 2 things. Number 1, not only do us a favor and the team a favor, please, for the love of God, drop Adley in the lineup.
That'd be nice.
Please, for the love of God, drop Adley in the lineup. If you're
Our manager calls runs points, so I'm not really too confident he's going to drop Adley from 2.
Please, dear God, drop Adley in the lineup.
He's the starting shooting guard, so he's going to have to stay at the 2.
Number 2, I've
You
seen
missed my damn
enough
joke, bro. I hate that.
right now. I've seen enough right now. I think Heston needs to take a bus ride just to maybe get his head on straight, get these hitting coaches on our team out of his ear for once, see some lesser quality pitching. I something just does not look right with him right now, and it's clear. I know the bats are struggling across the whole team, but I think Heston is glaring even more so. So I would like to see Carlson still remain up here when Kowser comes back, and Heston take a little breather.
Yeah. See, it's almost like the same thing with Mayo. Heston hits the cover off of AAA pitching for the most part. Now I know he had a little bit of a downtime in his last stint in AAA, but I want Heston to figure it out.
Of course, I think we all do.
And I do, and with what Mark said about hitting them 6 or 7, I was saying 7 or 8 at the beginning of the show because we let the show off with that.
This, I think, is the answer to Adley dropping in the lineup.
I like that.
And I think you rock O'Hearn at 4.
Yeah. Your 1 through 5 should be Holiday, Westberg, Gunnar, O'Hearn, and Kowser when they're all back in the lineup. And then Mountcastle, Adley, Mullins should all be hanging at the bottom of the lineup.
We haven't really touched on him much tonight, but where are you at on Mountcastle?
Same place I've been the entire time.
And where's that?
He's a non-power hitting first baseman that has exceptional defense, and he should be on another team right now.
You think the hitting coaches got to him, or you think he just hasn't been the same Mountcastle since the dizzy spell?
He hasn't been the same Mountcastle since his rookie year.
I mean, I'm not going to say that's not a valid point.
Let's take the love affair of these players out of the equation. Okay, Mountcastle was the first one to have the home run chain and the home run bong spray thing, and I'm so glad the pirate hat's gone. I think it's gone.
It's not gone.
God damn it! I haven't seen it pop up on my feed.
Don't you ever disrespect Rough-End Odor for his home run chain or Kyle Gibson for his homer hose.
No, it's juvenile bullshit. It's juvenile. It's juvenile.
What if I told you I owned each one of those 3 items that you just named?
You're a child, so it's not surprising. It's not. I'm the opposite of shocked. No shocked Pikachu face over here.
All right, Matt.
Where is the homer hose?
I don't own a fucking homer hose.
Okay.
I do own I do own a pirate hat.
Shame.
Also
Bring
own a home run
back.
chain.
You know who else has a? You know who wears the celebration chains? 7 U football teams after an interception or a touchdown.
Orioles did it first.
I don't care.
All right, Matt. So, like we always do, 3 games against the White Sox, 3 games against the Mariners, 3 games against the Sacramento A's. 9 games. What's our record?
5-4. 5-4. I think we lose the Mariners series. I'm giving us one mulligan against both the A's and the White Sox. I think it's 5-4. I think we're gonna start getting a little bit of of our footing back, especially with Westy and Cowser back in the lineup. I'm not saying they're gonna be electric, hitting home runs and scoring runs, but I think that it's gonna take Mateo and Carlson out of the lineup every single day. 7-2 is very lofty, guys.
If we go 7-2, I will literally do our next stream shirtless.
Promise.
Y'all see it. Everyone here sees it. If the
Joe
Orioles
might
come
give you
home,
Joe might give you a $4.99 comment for that.
If the Orioles come home 7-2, I will literally sit here for the entire. I'll move my camera down so that it's not just the top of my neck. You see, I will be sitting here nipples out, shirtless for the entire show.
Get Oriole Bird pasties. It'd be all right, man. See, I wanted to say I believe Mark on the 7-2 because he's optimistic. He's cautiously optimistic. But Joe said 7-2, and he also said that we were going to win 108 games this year. So, boo this man.
We could still do it.
I did not catch the second half of the comment that just popped up at the top.
Oh, dear Lord. Poor Carrie.
I was like, what? And then I was like, oh.
108, still possible.
No, it's not.
Lock it in.
You got to win 88% of your games to go 108 and whatever.
No, it was 108 losses. Joe
no,
he typed L. He meant to type L, not W.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't want to hear that shit.
All right, brother, man. You going to take us out?
Yes. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into this show. I know we had some competition tonight from our friends at the other spot.
Friend of the show, Exit 52.
Yeah, Exit 52 was live as well. See, Carrie laughed. I'm glad that I was waiting for the next comment because I'm glad Carrie laughed. That made the whole show complete. I'm so happy she laughed because I was so worried that I was going to get a nasty gram or something. But thank you guys for tuning into the show. We really appreciate all the interaction, all the support. Tim and I got some really exciting news coming to you guys relatively soon. You guys have been a fantastic support system for us. We appreciate every single person that tunes into this show every time we're on.
Who
And
would have thought that it would be our TikTok that pops? All you got to do is get Matt mad, apparently.
look, it's a joint effort. You are great with the clips, and I'm great at losing my mind. No. See, that doesn't even bother me tonight. It was unnecessary. We're an hour and 21 minutes into this broadcast, and you wanted to bring the box out. It's okay. You're not going to upset me. Not tonight. Because, we do read a lot of your guys' comments and a lot of your guys' messages about the content and what we put out. So this wasn't going to be a hour show where I'm shitting on this team. I want this team to be good. That's what people get lost in sometimes when they comment on our TikToks and all that. I want this team to be good. I'm 36 years old. I have seen 2 Ravens Super Bowls in my life. I was fortunate enough to go to the first or the second Super Bowl parade and sit in the stadium and watch them come in. Funny story, not long one, but an inmate saw me on television and told my supervisors I was at the parade and not at work. 13 years ago. But yeah, I need to see an Orioles World Series in my lifetime. I just need to see a home game. I don't even I care if we win, but I just need to see an Orioles home game in the World Series. It was 6 years before I was born when the last time the Orioles were in the October Classic.
Sure
I
was.
just need it in my veins and in my bones. Like, please. That's where I end with that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll be back at the duration of the A series, Tim. Are we gonna chop in before?
Yeah, probably. I'd say next a week.
Yeah, a week or 10 days.
Unless we get some fun breaking news, Matt.
Yeah, a Mateo DFA, or if we sweep the White Sox and the Mariners, we can come back. We'll definitely be back for that. If we go 6-0 in the first 6.
And then that third series, all you viewers will be hoping for just one win, because then I'll be sitting here shirtless.
No. They're going to want you shirtless, Tim. They're gonna want you shirtless. I guarantee it. But quick plug. You can find Tim at Foul Ball Talk on X. He is an absolute. I say this every time. You're an absolute menace in Birdland Twitter. I love it. I love it. I love it. You can catch me on X at mtrigwvp. You can find us on Facebook. Just type in our names. For those of you that are football fans, particularly Ravens fans, me and Daniel Wilcox, we will be having our next show covering the OTAs over on our We Bleed Purple podcast. Shameless plug. Check us out, subscribe to us, and subscribe to this channel as well. We are trying to build up our, followers, and we appreciate everybody spreading the word. You guys have done great with that so far. Tim, it is about that time.
About that time. Got to take the dog on a walk.
Yeah, before you get yelled at.
All right, y'all. Appreciate you tuning in. We'll catch you in a week.
Yes, absolutely. It was a great time talking with everybody, and we will see y'all soon.